Good morning, everybody, and welcome back. How are you all doing this happy hump day? It's Wednesday, right? So we are almost down the mountain. We at the mountain peak, and all we have to do is scale down into victory. I call any week that we succeed through, any work week or school week or whatever we are doing, once we make it through, that's a success as far as I'm concerned, because I struggle getting up early in the mornings. I struggle on a daily basis trying to get up and get started. It's like a chore for me, you know? And so if you're getting up in the mornings and you're pushing through and you are going, that is a success, you know? So I was listening to Derrick Chauvin. I heard a newscaster say his last name was Chauvin. I say Chauvin. I pronounce it how I see it. But she said Derrick Chauvin, but we're going to call him DC for this video. Okay, I hear that he is trying to appeal the court's decision about his prison sentence. And the reason being is because a black jury person, a black juror went to a rally back a year or so ago. Of course, it had to be a black person, of course, that broke the rules as far as they're saying that he lied on his application. They asked him if he went to a rally or a protest concerning Black Lives Matter with police brutality. He circled no, okay? They said that they went back and looked at his social media and seen that he had a picture wearing a Black Lives Matter t-shirt and that he had been to a rally prior to this conviction, okay? Now, let's get one thing clear. Before you become a juror, they already check you out. They already check your social media out. They already check your background out. You can't have no criminal background. You have to be basically a model citizen, okay? So that's bogus, because they already knew about this before he even got on the jury seat. These people, the district attorney, the lawyers, and everyone already knew the background of these jurors, okay? Number one. The only reason they're digging into these people's backgrounds is to find any loophole to be able to get this man off. Now, the juror said that he did not go to a police brutality rally. He said he went to a rally. I hope I'm saying it right. A rally, R-A-L-L-Y, rally. He went because it was for Dr. Martin Luther King. I think it was around that holiday time. He went there for just a celebration of Dr. Martin Luther King, and he went to, I think they all met up in the Capitol, and he just happened to wear his shirt, Black Lives Matter. But the demonstration that he went to, or the celebration, had nothing to do with police brutality. So he did not lie on his application, okay? They're just grasping at straws. He did not lie on his application. Believe me, they already knew this information before they were put on the jury. It's no way in the world that this lawyer or any district attorney or anyone in this worldwide criminal case did not know that this man wore a Black Lives Matter t-shirt to a celebration for Dr. Martin Luther King, okay? DC is grasping at straws because he just doesn't want to go to prison. It was okay for him to put his knee in someone's neck, not once, but as far as I know, twice, because he did it a year or so or more prior to George Floyd, to another young black guy. And they're thinking about pressing charges against him for that. Well, they should. They should, because he broke the law. You don't use that kind of force. So that's something that DC likes to do. He likes to put his foot on you. He likes to put his knee on you and hold you down. That's what he likes to do. You're beneath him. Black people are beneath him, and he likes to put his knee on your neck, his foot on your neck, to hold you down and hold you in your place. That's what he's doing. Okay? So this is not the first time that he's done it. It's the first time that he was prosecuted in court because someone died. The other guy, I believe, was much younger, so he probably just let it go because it probably wouldn't have got him nowhere anyway. you know, but they're grasping at straws. This juror did not go to a police brutality rally. He said he did not. So when they go back and find the dates of this particular situation where this man was celebrating, then they're going to realize, okay, so he didn't lie about that, because you can't turn it into something that it was not. If you're guilty, you're just plain outright guilty. A lot of people are sitting here saying, well, George Floyd had drugs in the system, and George Floyd had a counterfeit $20 bill, and George Floyd, it does not matter. That does not give anyone the right to put their knee in your neck. No one the right to put their knee in your neck. It just doesn't make any darn sense to me. Why would somebody do that and then want to get off? Like the other police officer, I forget her name, but she's a female police officer who went onto another floor in her apartment building and shot a black man in his apartment. And then she says that she did not realize that it wasn't her apartment. She thought it was her apartment. Now she's seeking to have her sentence overturned, and she wants to go back to court and fight it because she don't feel like she should be in prison. You went to a whole nother floor. That's like me living on the first floor and I go to the third floor because I thought that's my apartment. How do you bypass your apartment on a whole nother level? They lived on different floors. They did not live on the same floor. She went to a whole nother floor, from my understanding, went into his apartment because the door was cracked, because he just went into his apartment, didn't close the door, and shot him. That's what, and you went past your apartment to this man's apartment. When you went into his apartment, you didn't recognize that none of the furniture wasn't yours. None of the stuff that was in the apartment didn't look unfamiliar to you, and you shoot him. No, what happened was you followed this black man because you probably thought that he should not be living there. You probably thought that he couldn't afford the apartment, and you followed him, watched him go into the apartment, and you shot him because you want to say he's breaking and entering, but he did not break and enter because he had a key. And you killed him. Now you want to turn around and you want to have your sentence overthrown. Because it's okay for you to just go around killing people. That's okay. No, it's not okay. Just like the older white woman that has dementia. They throw her to the ground. They broke her arm. I watched the video. They just had the woman all over the ground. She was frail, no more than 80 pounds. Over $14 that the Walmart or whoever called the police and said she tried to steal. She put the stuff back, but she had dementia. She probably thought she paid for it, okay? They was laughing and picking at that. She was white. So a lot of the police officers, yes, it's racist, but a lot of police officers are just bullies. And they just like that power. Every police officer is not racist. They are bullies, but they're not all racist. They're not. Some of them just like to bully people because these police officers were white and the victim was white. And they throwed her all over the ground. They was twisting her arm all behind her back. Now, if it had been their grandma, they would have an outright fit. If it was their grandmother, their mother, or even themselves, they don't want to go to prison. They feel like they're being done an injustice because they don't want to go to prison for a crime that they committed. They don't think they should be fired or lose their pension, their retirement, none of that. They think that they're entitled. And a lot of cops are just bullies and they like to intimidate and beat up on people. This lady was 80 years old. She was of the white race, and they treated her like she was trash. She was screaming and crying, and they left her in a cell for hours on end with no kind of medical attention. Now they're talking about, well, we're going to have our officers have some training on Alzheimer's and dementia. It doesn't matter what they have training on. If they're a bully, they are a bully. And you can't always say that someone has Alzheimer's and dementia. Just to look at her, you wouldn't know that. So what kind of training can you have? It's another excuse for them to be able to get away with what they want to get away with and what they want to do. Because what training, unless you're in the medical field, what kind of training can you possibly have with a person that has Alzheimer's or dementia? You cannot just look at somebody walking down the street and just assume, okay, they got dementia now, they got Alzheimer's, let's be careful with them. You can't unless you are actually, you can't, I don't care what training you have. You cannot have that discernment unless you are actually in the medical field and you know what to look for. Somebody walking down the street, you cannot know what to look for and she just walking down the road. You see people walking down the road all the time. That don't mean they have Alzheimer's and dementia. She could have been an older woman in her right mind. She was screaming, "You're hurting me, you're hurting me." From that, you cannot tell that she had dementia. You cannot tell. She was screaming, "You're hurting me." No matter what mental disability that she had going on, she was still enough in her right mind to know that she was in pain. And you don't have to have training to know that when somebody's in pain, you ease up, you let go, you stop. What kind of training does you supposed to already have had training? This is not the first time officers has dealt with people in mental states. They deal with people with schizophrenia and bipolar all the time. And they still shoot them down and throw them all over the place and drag them through the bushes and kick them and beat them with tasers and sticks and stuff. They still mistreat them. It doesn't matter if you're mentally disturbed. It doesn't matter if you ain't nothing wrong with you. It doesn't matter. They are bullying people. They are beating up on people because they have authority. They need to be trained on how to interact with civilians. That's what they need training on, to have compassion. And they need to have an extensive background check on these police officers to make sure they are not inside no secret club and no secret organization, and make sure they have compassion for all races. If you don't pass that competency test and your mental stability, you don't get hired on the force. Because these police officers that are doing these things, those are mental problems that they have. They are bullies. When you're a bully, you have a problem. You have low self-esteem and you have issues. That's a problem. When you are racist against another human being just because of the color of their skin, that is a problem. You have a problem. Because no one can control how they were born. Just like you cannot control if you're born with a mental defect or a physical defect. You cannot control what color eyes you have, or how big your lips are, or your physical physique. You can't control those things. So to hate someone because they look different, it's just ridiculous. When you can't control it, it could have been switched. You could have been born another race, and the person you hate could have been born white. So to hate someone because of the way they look is ridiculous. Because they're overweight is ridiculous. Because they're an older person, so I'm gonna throw them around. You have a problem, and then you don't want to be punished for it. You have the nerve to not want to suffer your consequences. Because at the end of the day, you do not think you did anything wrong. You don't want to suffer your consequences. I'm a police officer, and I should be able to do what I want to do, and you will respect me. If not, you're going to suffer A, B, and C. And even if you do respect me, guess what? I'm going to still throw you to the ground. I'm going to still shoot you. I'm going to still pistol whip you or whatever I have to do, because you're different from me and I don't like you. Then you have the police officers that's of color, that are just ignorant and just stupid because they do the same thing to their own population, to their own community. They get out there and they try to showboat, and they do the same exact thing, but then they mad when the shoe is turned on their foot and their co-workers that are of another race turn on them and mistreat them. Then they don't like it. Then they want the respect. But you need to respect everyone. Respect is earned. It's just not given. You have to earn respect. People just don't respect you because you just in a suit. They used to respect you when you was behind the badge, but not no more, because they are just, police officers are corrupt these days. They had that little white woman all over the ground. She was screaming in bloody pain. And they just heard, the man was talking about, you hear that pop? You ready for that pop? I mean, just broke her arm, pulled it all out of socket. Now her daughter is suing for a million something, you know, and rightfully so. And they should be fired. I think some of them have resigned. Well, if you resign, you get to keep your pension. So they're being recommended to resign. They didn't resign on their own. They're being told to resign, so therefore you can keep your pension and your retirement plan. And they get a good pension and a good retirement plan. So they're being told to resign, because a lot of times when you get fired, you don't get to keep them things. So when they just up and resign after they commit a crime, they done lock their future intact for their family and their wives and their children. So they're being already schooled on what they need to do, you know. And it's just sad that DC, you know, is trying to overturn his conviction. He wants an appeal. Now, would I want to go to prison? No, I wouldn't. No, nobody wants to go to prison, even if you do wrong. Nobody wants to go to prison. But, you know, to show some remorse, you just say, you know, you need to find a way out, but don't pull a black juror, because it just looks so, it looks crazy. Now you're targeting a black juror to say that he had something to do with, he shouldn't have been on the jury. Y'all chose him. Y'all chose him. So if the man hadn't have went to the Martin Luther King rally, he didn't wear the Black Lives Matter shirt, would that rewind everything? Would that keep your knee off of George Floyd's neck? That man going to that rally and that man having a Black Lives Matter t-shirt has nothing to do with you putting your big knee in somebody's neck and choking the life out of them. Had nothing to do with that. You still did it, and you still would have did it. Doesn't matter if he went or not. So suppose they would have found a white person on the jury, and he had a Black Lives Matter shirt on, because a lot of white folk are wearing them shirts because they have black family members, black friends, biracial children, and everything. Suppose you found out that they had a Black Lives Matter shirt on and they went to Dr. Martin Luther King rally. Would you be doing the same thing? Would you have pulled them out? It's all about race. That's all it's about. He killed somebody and he don't want to take the consequences. He think he was right. But that does not change the evidence. If they do a whole nother trial and they put somebody else in that juror's place, that's not going to change the evidence. And and another person sitting in his seat is going to say the same thing, guilty. Another person is going to say the same exact thing, guilty. You know? So with that being said, I'm going to say vielen Dank. That's thank you very much in German. So vielen Dank for watching me, and choose, that's what? That's bye in German.